Hello and welcome to another one of these ADD videos. Today we're going to be looking at some basic naming examples. Alright, let's get started. Here we should recognize this as an alkali earth metal, group 2. This is group 7, a halogen, a non-metal. Metal and non-metal is ionic bond. So the way you do nomenclature for ionic bonds is you state the full name of the first element and then you use, so it's going to be beryllium, and then you use the root word chloride, add the "ide" suffix, okay? So this is the flowchart available on the website. You need to ask yourself, does the compound contain a metal? If it does, then it's ionic. Then you need to ask yourself, does the cation, is it a transition metal? Can it form more than one positive charge, like iron? It can be 2 or 3. If yes, then we got to use the stock system with the Roman numerals. If not, then we use the English names of the metals. After that, we need to ask ourselves about the anion. Is it one element? If it's yes, then we just use the root of the anion and add "ide," just like we did with the chloride. If no, then we just name the polyatomic ion. All right? So let's look at this next one over here, the barium hydroxide, and use the flow chart. Does it have a metal? Yes, barium. Barium is in group 2. It's also an alkali earth metal. So no, we do not use the stock system. We use the English names. Then we come over here. Does the anion consist of more than one element? Yes, it does. It's oxygen and hydrogen, but collectively, when they're grouped together like that, that's referred to as the hydroxide ion. So this would be barium hydroxide. Can't remember if there's one or two. I think it's just one. Okay, so here there is no metal in this compound, so we use a different path. So when we're looking at this here, we have nitrogen and oxygen, both non-metals. Once we have figured out they're both non-metals, we're over here on the right side of the flow chart, then we need to ask ourselves, is one of those ammonia? No, it's not. So then we ask ourselves, is one of those hydrogen, is that a binary acid? No, it's not. So then what we have to do is we have to use the prefixes, if you remember these guys, the quantity, di, tri, all that stuff. Okay, memorize these if you haven't memorized them already. So this would be dinitrogen pentaoxide, and yes, you do need the "ide" suffix. Okay. All right, let's look at this one. This one is calcium, which is also an alkali earth metal, and this is the perchlorate ion. It's in group 2, and this is the perchlorate ion. So if we were following the flow chart, what you would do is you would say, okay, does it have a metal? Yes, it does. It's ionic. And then does our metal have more than one possible positive charge? Calcium does not. So we use the English name of the metal. So here's the calcium. And then after that, does the anion consist of one element? No, that's chlorine and oxygen. That's a polyatomic ion, so we just write calcium perchlorate. All right, so you can see that flow chart's pretty handy. I recommend making note cards for those polyatomic ions and just go through and memorize the charges of the metals and practice, the most important part. I hope I've eliminated some of the doubts you might have. Check out some of the more advanced naming examples. Nomenclature can be pretty easy if you just practice it, just like anything else. Thank you, and have a nice day.